Hi, this is Melba Moore, and you're watching Rude Rangers TV.
Hey, how you doing, everybody? I'm the Dr. Bob Lee from 107.5 WPLS and the Make the Grade Foundation for Education. You're watching Rude Rangers TV.
Today we have really an esteemed guest. Stephen Melillo is a world-renowned composer of more than 1,270 works. That includes 4 symphonies, scores of film and television, scores and work. He's worked in commercials. He's worked in doing scores for professional sports teams. He is, you might want to talk about this, Stephen. This is staggering. You studied conducting with Attilio Poto, a student of Arturo Toscanini. That's like a concrete block to the face impressive right there. So, and too many accolades to list here in the time that we have, and accomplishments and projects that Stephen has spearheaded. Do you remember how and when you first fell in love with music in general, Stephen?
I absolutely do. And if you want to consume the full 25 minutes on that one question alone, I could do it, because it's an interesting story. I mean, I don't want to keep people, bored. I mean, it is an interesting story, right? So I started playing the trumpet in the 4th grade. I learned in a chapel at Corpus Christi in Portchester, which is a Catholic school. When I went to 9th grade, they didn't have they didn't have a band. They had a football team. I played football. I played on a team that was undefeated and unscored upon.
Wow. After
that, I went to Greenwich High School, and I made the football team, but it seemed a little too easy for me, even though they were the state champions, by the way. Yes. It seemed a little bit too easy for me, so I left. And the guidance counselor said to me, "Have you ever thought about going into music?" I said, "Well, I'm a trumpet player. I play the trumpet." So next thing that happens is I'm in the band. Okay, from the band experience now comes the thing that you're talking about. What was it that impacted me in such a way as to be a life-changing experience that one wants to dedicate his life to it? And it happened when I was 16 years old. So it's very, very specific. I was, like most people, probably dumped by my first love of my life. And I went to the beach in Greenwich, Connecticut in a Toyota, and I sat by the setting sun in the car, and I listened to an excerpt of the Mahler 10th Symphony. It's a 20-minute excerpt where the flute solo plays. That one. Yeah. Well, at the end of that 20 minutes, it's a cassette now, right? This is the 1970s. I was crying. And so I said, well, wait a minute. Why am I crying? Why? I had to know. I had this very scientific sort of mind. I need to know things. So I hit the rewound button and I listened to it again. Another 20 minutes of lapsed time. And I was crying again, except this time it was an even deeper sort of cry. Wow. And I found it fascinating. I said, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? And to make this story short for you,
that's okay.
I did this 100 times.
Wow.
I did this 100 times until there was no water left in my body to cry. And I was absolutely fascinated. How did this man, now dead, Gustav Mahler, manage to put into a bottle, like a message in a bottle, cast it into the future, have a 16-year-old kid listen to it, and have this unbelievable experience so that by the end of it, your soul is different. How did he do that? And that question and that urging and that everything had me eventually go into music, not by choice either. That's another important thing that I want listeners to understand, is that I was a physics major, my first, but I actually tried to get away from music, but it was always in me, and it always calling to me like a vocation, like a priesthood. And it kept saying, no, 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 you have to come here, you have to come here. I went to the Boston Conservatory. I left University of Connecticut, went to the Boston Conservatory of Music, and that's when you mentioned Attilio Poto. I studied with Attilio Poto. He was one of my truly profound and great teachers who taught with love. See, I think that's one of the key things about music, is that when you connect the love of the past in Mahler, the love of the teacher, right, can express this, then you have something very special. And it was in that world that I found myself. And that's about it. You want more? I was on a bridge in 1976 in Boston. It was 3:33 p.m. It was another huge story. And I stood on that bridge and I said a prayer. I said, God, I don't know anything about music, nothing. Please let me be one day on this bridge again and saying to myself, how is it that you didn't know? And I set out at that time to write one piece. And if I could understand music by writing it, and I can create a score, then I could be a good score reader, and therefore a good conductor, and therefore a good teacher. And that one piece, that was enough for me, and I would be satisfied, and I would fulfill this hunger to write and affect people the way Mahler affected me. Well, that was 1,276 pieces ago. So, this urgency and this calling have been always a part of my life since that time.
I'm speechless. You mentioned that 3:33 p.m. was important. Did that play into your life later, or was that a link to something else, or how did that work out?
The 3:33 story is the stuff of novels. So in these 1,276 pieces, about 400 of them, or more now, are what I call Stormworks. And a guy from Taiwan asked me just this morning, what is it that you mean by storm? Because obviously it's something not just a storm. It's a metaphor for something else. And it's actually very simple. The storm is a metaphor for life. And if I can just speak like a kid from Port Chester, New York, life sucks. And you get slapped in the face, and it's dark, and it's painful, and you go through a lot of suffering. But at the end of all of these storms in life, there's always light.
Yes.
There's this light that bursts through. And it's with that faith that I started to write these pieces. Now, every one of those Stormwork pieces has something significant happening between the 33rd measure and the 34th measure.
Okay.
And something significant happens at 3:33 if the piece is in this duration. Something significant happens at the real time 3:33. All because of what happened in 1976 on a bridge when I said a prayer. So it's all connected. Now, I really can't get too far into it because it's actually, it borderlines on Twilight Zone metaphysical craziness, the preponderance of 33s and 3:33s in my life, but they're in the music.
This is astounding. It's tremendously interesting, and I know you could go on forever. We'd like you to, but you've got other commitments in your life. You talked about, and I have a dad who is a retired NASA aerospace engineer, and you talked about I need to have logical and step-by-step explanations of everything. That's my dad. My dad has a heart bigger than the world, but that's his. That's
yes,
his, and that obviously is yours. And this leads into into Stormworks a little bit. I wonder if you could flesh out a little bit about what happened beginning in 1992 with the creation of self-publishing and digital music dissemination. So digital music, you were bringing the tech into the creative, and you established what is a modern precedent in international music publishing. I guess kind of briefly, and you know, kind of extracting the meaty portions of that, what is Stormworks in terms of meshing the creative music side with the digital music distribution side?
Yeah, great question. So it's actually a very simple answer. So for 11 years, I tried to get published. And for 11 years, publishers said, no one's ever going to play this music. And then I decided to do, I see all your football helmets in the background there. I decided to do an end run. Okay?
Yeah.
And what I did was I said, you know what? I'm not going to go to the publishers. I'm going to send one piece to one band. And that's what I did. Imagine. I sent one piece to one band. Within about 2 years, 4,000 conductors around the world were playing the music that I had written, and it was all by word of mouth.
Good.
So everything, this whole idea about advertising and social media, don't forget that social media didn't exist, right?
Nope.
Yet, right?
Yeah.
All of that had nothing to do with it. It was truly the message of the music and the likability, the playability. You know, I was an educator for 17 years in a public school. I mean, I'm an educator for 40-something years, all out of school. But in the public schools, I was an educator. And I write with that sense of, hey, you know, can the kids do this? Can the kids do that? When I'm writing, I'm going through the fingerings, you know, it was whatever instrument I'm playing on as I'm writing. So basically, Stormworks, right, is the name of my self-publishing entity that takes an end run around publishers and brings the music directly to the conductor and says, hey, if you like this, play it. And if you don't like it, no problem.
Just like you did.
Right.
Your personal experience, and you're affording that opportunity to other creators of music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I get a sense, Stephen, and we don't know each other personally, but you have the sensibility of a really good coach. I play football too, and I coach my kids, or a teacher, in that you really care about the work and you care about the people that you're working with. And as my dad would say, you can work with fellow adults and be firm and straightforward and candid with them and not have to beat them up and beat them down, and stay within the spirit of what everybody wants to accomplish, and that's the best they can do. Does that resonate with you at all?
Huh. John, let me tell you something. Your father, I love your father.
I love him beyond words.
And I would love to have a cigar with your father.
He would really enjoy talking with you. I know that. Yeah.
If he's still with us, I would love to meet such a man.
Cool.
That's exactly correct. You know, all of us are, you know, when I do teacher seminars, right? I talk to teachers about how they're going to relate to kids.
Yeah.
I go, how many of you get in front of the band or the group of people and think to yourself, there could be the future Beethoven in this group. Yeah. There could be the future Mozart in this group. Right? And so I would get in front of my kids and I would always say, you know what? There's a reason why you came after me. Right? It's the same with my own children. There's a reason you came after me. It's because you're better than I am.
Yep.
My goal as a teacher is to let you be the best that you are and to pull that out of you so that you could be the next guy that's looking at his kids and passing off these ideas. Yeah. Now, if this extends itself, John, to the music. So if you consider yourself a teacher, right, then the composer is a teacher. The orchestrator is a teacher. The conductor is a teacher. The musician playing is a teacher. And it's all of this sharing. So all of the music exists for one reason. That's to uplift humanity. So not to be totally corny, because I don't think it is. But, you know, this year they're going to premiere my piece that I wrote for the 250th anniversary of Beethoven. It's a 21-minute piece called I Hear Now in Heaven. Now, what do Beethoven and I have in common? Not talent, okay? Okay, because he's Beethoven, and I'm just this little guy from Dorchester. But we do have this in common. We believe in the brotherhood of man. And I don't mean that in a corny way, because that's why I do everything that I do, whether it's for my own children or other people's children, all teachers. I believe that we are brothers, and that's what that music is all about.